Welcome to the Ops Experts Club with Aaron, Taryn, and Savannah. This podcast will take you behind the scenes of some of the finer details of multi-million-dollar companies. These ops experts have dealt with operations for scaling companies and well-established businesses with anywhere from small to large teams. If you've ever been deep into the details of a major company, then you know how much it takes, and these conversations are just for you. Welcome to the Ops Experts Club podcast.
Well, welcome to Ops Experts Club, everybody. Ben, Savannah, good to have you here. I'm excited. We have a guest today. It's one of our guest sessions. Somebody you don't know, but you just met backstage. We're pretty excited to talk to her. And that is Jessica with Unmutable. Welcome, Jessica, to the show.
Hello. Hey, y'all. Thank you.
Hello. It's real good to have you here, Jessica. We've been, kind of on the curtailing with Unmutable ever since we first started with John Acuff a while ago. And since then, though, we've kind of blossomed and we've recommended you to other clients. You've done client work for a lot of the people we're working with, and I think you're doing work for us on some of our website. So you guys have been an awesome asset to meet. We had Caleb on the show at one point, and as somebody who works very closely with Caleb and does a lot of the marketing operations, we thought it'd be fun to have you on too as well. So thanks for joining us, Jessica. And why don't you just start with giving us, who you are, what you're doing, and who you're working with.
Thanks, Taryn. So just a little bit about me and Unmutable. I am actually our digital marketing specialist. And what that means right now currently is I work on funnels and I'm in all things digital, email strategies, social media ads, all of those types of things. It's super fun and it can be nerdy sometimes too. But I did roles a lot as well over the years at Unmutable. I have been like a launch team manager for books that we work on. I've also been a marketing manager. And so my role has shifted throughout the years, and I feel like I'm in my sweet spot right now with the digital side and working with clients as well. And so Taryn and I have had opportunity to work together on several client projects, and it's just been a blast. Collab team probably sees me more as like a project manager, but that's actually not what I mainly do. But I do love project management too. So I wear multiple hats. Jessica Peavy, he's the owner of Unmutable, and he is also my brother. So we work with family, and family is a big part of our core values at Unmutable. But it is just such a fun job, and honestly, it's always something new every day. We love working with the Collab team, and they've definitely given us a lot of incredible insights and direction for projects and for moving items forward. So we really enjoy working with Taryn and Aaron and more of the team, and it's exciting to meet the rest of you.
Wow, that's cool. Now, I know a lot of us that we talked to, and some of us at the Collab team, like we just kind of fell into this space. We didn't start our life being like, I want to work for an online company, do marketing, or with websites and funnels all day. What was your ascension to where you are now? Was it something you thought out, or did you also just fall into it?
Yeah. So I started out with advertising, and that's what I majored in. And so I was thinking I would be, running advertising campaigns for like big companies, and it actually turned out to just work in small businesses first. And so I got a lot of experience with small business and a lot of entrepreneurship work. And so that's where it started. And then it ended up being a lot of working with book authors. And that's been super fun with the Unmutable. Unmutable has multiple hats as well. And we do book launching to podcast production, to video, to photography, to website design and branding. So there's just a lot there. But yeah, I started off mainly thinking that I would be in the creative space and work more on design. But quickly, Caleb and the team here decided that, hey, your strengths are actually in the operations, in the day-to-day, in the project, client relationships. And so that's my sweet spot. And those are some of my favorite things to do. So it doesn't feel like work a lot of times because it's working on things that I love. So that's how I got to where I am now. But a lot of learning and a lot of mistakes, a lot of trying things and taking risks, and I'm still learning every day things new for sure.
Actually, I had a question because I also am a creative that found myself kind of excelling in the operations, kind of more boring thing that I actually find very exciting. But do you feel like that gives you kind of an edge in what you guys are doing, that you are a creative person that can do the operations thing? Because I mean, like what you guys do is pretty creative, but then, every company, regardless of what it is, needs those organizational skills.
Yes. So absolutely, Savannah, you're right on with that. And that was something that I like took some notes about before this call because I was just thinking about how the creative space can be so like difficult to work with creatives because of just the ideas, and there's always something new, and there's just a lot that you can do, and there's so much, like the world is your canvas. But taking the operations side and making things more clear, making things more specific, adding deadlines, adding expectations, and those types of details that come alongside the creative, I've learned that it just makes the process so much better. And I wish that I learned that in college, but that just takes experience. And I think with the creative side, I know how creatives work. I know how it takes time. There's not always inspiration that you're just like, I feel like doing that work right now. And so it takes time for the creative to create what they are trying to help their client with. And so, but then also you're on deadlines. There's definitely like this balance of saying, hey, like, we want you to create the best thing that ever existed, but we need it tomorrow. And I think that's something that has been hard to juggle watching our creative team. And then also with myself, I'm always like, I need more time. I need more time. So honest expectations and honest deadlines have helped us a lot, have helped me a lot. And I love being able to be an in between, like you said, Savannah, and knowing like, hey, I know this takes more time, and like editing a podcast or like a video. And a lot of times clients might they'll like give you a podcast audio and say, hey, can we have this tomorrow? And it's like, that can be so much longer than just editing like 10 minutes because the thing is 30 minutes long. So, just those types of things that you have clear expectations with clients and being able to explain that in a kind way and a way that makes sense to the client, but then also to the creative. So I love it. It's super fun. And sometimes creative is me. Sometimes it's Caleb. Sometimes it's someone else on our team. And honestly, when I'm not the person in the creative, it actually gets done faster. So I try to get out of the way and like not be the block of the creative. And I've learned that honestly is my sweet spot to help guide and direct and bring the creative closer to, the project or the deliverable that the client wants.
Oh, yeah. I mean, being creative, it can be difficult to work with. So you guys, I know from working with personally, yeah, you've got it figured out. You've got that nice creative, but proper turnarounds and clear expectations. Yeah, it's really nice. You guys nailed that so far.
Well, we're working on it. I'm telling you, it's like sometimes I'm like, wow, we're doing so great. And then sometimes I'm like, wow, it's just the process. It's a refining process.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, when you get like a large video file from somebody and they're like, how long can you get this? What's the quickest you can do this? And it's like a 2-hour video. And you're like, well, mechanically speaking, it's gonna take me like 6 hours to download, upload, process, refresh.
In you guys' marketing, Jessica, because you're got arms in so many different sort of facets, which area is the most in depth that requires your creativity? Is it more on the book marketing side, podcast marketing, video marketing? Which would you say requires more of your like creative mind to work through?
That's a great question. I would say that a lot of my brain power goes into the marketing side. And so creating the strategy, creating the campaign, like tactics, and, creating the copy as well as the direction. I think that's the biggest thing that we pour a lot of our creative mindset into. And Caleb would also agree with that because he's got a million thousand ideas. Like he can just come up with things that are so good. And so we do spend a lot of time in that space. But just because they're good ideas, we have to be careful about, is it aligning with our goals? So that's something that I have learned recently over the few years is just each project is going to be so different, and aligning the goals of the project and then taking the ideas and saying, does this align with this goal? And then we can run with those ideas. And so, yeah, I would say book marketing has a lot of our creative space as well. Branding, website design, those are types of things that somebody might see a website or a brand or have some inspiration, which is great. But, you know, you they give you, inspiration and they're like, okay, go make something new for us. And so like that's a big process. That's going and doing research and testing it out and really looking at a brand or looking at a website, or for book marketing, we make websites for those too. So there's just a lot of details that go into each different project. So I would say, I think putting ourselves all in for each project and then like brainstorming it out helps us as creatives to put all our brain power in one place. Me and Caleb or the team will sit down and we'll just say, okay, what do we need in this project? Like, what brings us to life? Like, put all of those important things out first. And then the creative goes and does the project and then comes back and presents it. And then we work back and forth on that feedback. But I've just really learned a lot in the process of the creative because, originally I thought you had to be like a graphic designer, or I thought I had to be a website designer even. But I've quickly learned that like you can still be creative in other areas, like Savannah mentioned, with the timelines, deliverables, all those things. And the creativity can be beyond the like graphic. It can be helping give direction for the graphic. So a lot of our time goes into that. And a lot of our time, I would say a lot of our ideas are really fun. And that's one of my favorite times is when we get to sit down and just brainstorm and create. Let's just sit down and think of some things we can do. Like, what would be fun? Just put it all on the table. And then we go back and say, okay, what's real? Like, what can actually happen? Because a lot of times, like, we have these big, massive dreams and like aspirations. And we have to like bring it back down. We're like, okay, but what can we get done by tomorrow? Or what can we get done by next week? And so I think that balance of still dreaming and still having fun with it, but also being realistic of, we have a million thousand other things going on and, just focusing it back to, okay, can that actually be done in a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever your timeline is?
With all of the ideas you guys come with, like, how much of those just get tossed out? You're like, we've got 1,000 ideas, but really we only can go on one. So is it like everybody comes in with like 5, 10, 15 different ideas, and you have to whittle it down from there?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of ideas sadly don't make it. And so I think of like Inside Out. I think where there's like, that movie Inside Out where there's the scene where like all the dreams like go to die and it's so sad. But I think of that sometimes like some of these ideas don't make it and that's okay. And we work with clients that like Johnny Cuff who has amazing ideas. And he also is just very honest and knows that not all of them will graduate is one thing that he says. And so that helps take that pressure off that like every idea has to be a thing and it has to turn into something. And so when we go into meetings like that, we bring 5 to 10 ideas or 5 to 10 strategies or email subject lines, or, it could be as detailed or as broad, specific or broad. But when we have those meetings, we just vote. A lot of times we say, oh, that one, like, and it's okay. I think another thing is like being like willing to receive the feedback and willing to accept the feedback, and just maybe it might not be my idea that everyone likes, and that's okay. And so I had to learn that very quickly of it's not personal. It's just, this is the best thing for that brand or the project. And sometimes Caleb's ideas win, sometimes mine win, but it is true that a lot of times we tried one of our key team things is to always, work together and not try to compete on something, but really look at it and say, is that the best thing for the project? And so, yeah, that kind of looks like our process for coming up with ideas and going towards them. And then I think in the ways of like practically, how can that idea come to life? And so when Caleb says an idea, I'll immediately start thinking of the next steps. And so we work together with that in our team and thinking through, okay, like here's the idea. Okay, what's the steps? And then if it doesn't fit or those steps seem crazy out of time, then we usually trash it. So a lot of ideas don't make it, but it's okay. I, you know, it might come at a later time when that idea comes back, but it's super fun just to think outside the box and just stay on our toes and to stay fresh. And we're always trying to, just look at research, but also look at current trends. And then there's always somebody else that is going to do something. And then I will say, if you have a client, it really helps when our client know that their idea might not happen or, they ask us about it. And so working with clients that are very comfortable and knowing that, I've got these 10 ideas and some clients will say like, they'll say, I've got 10 ideas and they have expectation that they want them all done. And we're like, whoa, like, I don't know. And so a lot of times we have to act and let them know, like, actually, what about this? And so I think that helps when you take to the client, we're not just going to say yes and we're not going to just, go with that all the time. And I think that helps us stand out too, because it really puts the client back into perspective, because a lot of times clients can get, like any of us, we can just all kind of veer off on a rabbit trail or something. And so bringing them back to what's the simplest way, what's the most important way to effectively communicate this. And then the client is usually like, you're right. Like, okay, we'll just do something. Right. So that's always helpful to bring, and not to be afraid to tell client that as well. I think I used to be afraid and now I'm like, okay, like, but what if we do it in this way or a different angle? So that's just some of the things I've learned over the years.
Yeah, I know that one's a hard one because you don't want to step on their toes, but then you realize some of these people, they hire you because they want you to be the expert. They just want to be the one that can give feedback, say yes or no. And then you build up that confidence, and then you can start being the expert and telling them what you really believe and what you think they should do.
Yeah.
Hey, experts listeners, I want to key you into something that we do very special here at Ops Experts Club, and that's a masterclass. We have a free masterclass called Foundations That Scale. And the great thing about this masterclass is it's for operation professionals who are growing businesses. One of the most dangerous things you can do as an operator is grow businesses on a foundations that's not stable. So in this particular masterclass, we take apart all of the inside pieces of your team, your tech, and how they're using time. And we make sure that you're building on a foundation that's stable. So if you want to check out a great masterclass completely for free, go to foundationsthatscale.com. We'll see you there.
Was that difficult to kind of learn, or was that, with it, like you had one bad client, you're like, all right, we're putting boundaries down from now on, or you kind of have to figure it out along the way?
Yeah. That is another note that I was going to say. So it was because one of your questions was something you've learned or taught. And I was like, is it bad that most of the things I can remember are all of the like really bad moments that happened for clients? I'm like, I promise I'm a very positive person. And it's so interesting how the most memorable moments are the ones that we failed chronically. And so those moments though have shaped us and they have really helped us to get better. And so people always say that, but it is really true. So yeah, we have definitely had some moments where we were just like, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. And projects. And then it just it bleeds. It just bleeds out and never ends. And the next time you know, it's been like 3 months and we're like, oh no, like it's never ending. And so I think we just had to work on that and realize like, that's why I said the setting expectations, setting those, like, this is what we're doing, like a list of very specific things. We've just had to learn that the hard way. But now we know, and now we have experienced great relationships with clients and we're able to be honest with clients and we're able to be kind to them, but also know that there's that boundary of we can't say yes to everything. And so, because I would say yes to everything, because we just want to be generous people. We want to help. We want to make the most of their investment. And we definitely want them to feel like they, are our most important client. And a lot of times clients tell us that they'll be like, we feel like you only work with us. And that's like, we're your only client. And I'm like, great, that's what we want. But it took a lot of hard, like, failing processes to get to that. And so now that we've experienced, we just wanna be, like, really clear and open with people, and having those hard conversations earlier too is an important thing because I think we would just let them drag out, and then it would be, like, a month later or whatever later, and so now we decide that we're just gonna, say no if we can't do the project, or we'll just be very clear about what we could do. We might offer an alternative, like, "No, we can't, film that 10-hour project, but we can edit 1-hour podcast," or something, I don't know. So, we're definitely just clear on what we do and what we are able to execute and able to deliver, and so that's definitely been a cool part of watching the company grow and shift over the years, and a lot of times in our creative space as well, and the marketing that we are working on, it changes so much, and you probably understand that. Always changing. And so a service that we offered 3 years ago, we may not offer it now. And so that's something that clients, they understand and they totally are willing to do whatever it takes to adjust. And so being honest with the clients, letting them know like, hey, that service isn't available anymore, or we have this new service. And so climate's always shifting in this area, but it's super fun, and just staying positive through it is important, and knowing your limitations is important too, and how many projects we can take on, how many, projects we can project.
Yeah, like fun when you're in like a client services business. We all tend to swing out this pendulum where we just start out and you're like, he's saying yes to everybody. Like, yes, 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 I'll do your work. I'll do your work, do your work. And then it's nice when you finally like go the other way and you hit that point where you're like, I don't need to start saying yes to everybody. Like, I've made it.
Yes. And then we start like sending people to other agencies or to like some other experts that, you know, finding that sweet spot. And that's what Caleb will tell you as well, is just we found that sweet spot for now, but it'll change and that's okay. But we know what we can do and what we can't do. So it's definitely a good place to be, because we'll refer people to the Collab team. We'll refer people to other agencies because we know that they can do it and what the client's looking for.
I was just going to note that something interesting about the trajectory too of setting those boundaries and like not being able to take as many people on because of all the yeses that you've said. But something that you don't really have when you first start out is you don't necessarily have that like directory of people to direct other people to, because when you're just starting out, you haven't like networked a ton. And so it's like, yeah, I'm just going to figure out how to do all the things and then just see, how it works. And then once you get fried, usually by that point, you've kind of established your network. And so you have those other people that you can confidently refer them to and delegate it out, which is really nice. It's just kind of like a natural progression of things. You start out being the jack of all trades, and then you end up being like the expert in your field that you can delegate to another expert in their field. And it feels good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they'll probably even more likely come back to you now that they know what your specific scope is too. Like, I don't actually do that. I do this. This person does that. Maybe they'll come back.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
great.
I've seen it happen too.
That's great. Jessica, final quick question for you. Some Jessica now would tell Jessica just starting out as like a little piece of advice.
Oh, goodness. Well, I would probably tell the newbie Jessica that she should just enjoy the process and chill out a little bit, because I definitely was so like high strung coming right out of college and was just ready to work. And that's a great thing. But, just to enjoy, and also to know that that's another thing I wanted to say on here, is that your work is valuable. and what you're doing, even if you can't measure like massive results to what you're doing, it still is worth something. And just not having to overthink that, is this like, did I do a good job on this? Or, is this just not to compare against other people's work as well? So yeah, I would probably say that to myself
Mm.
like 8 years ago now, which is crazy. But I would definitely tell her just to, do the best you can. And what you do is great. And always keep learning.
Well, thank you, Jessica. I love the final thought from you. It's been great talking with you. I'm excited to continue to work with Unmutable in different areas, and just looking forward to seeing where you guys go.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ops Experts Club podcast. New episodes available every week on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you're curious about how some of the biggest names in entrepreneurship have scaled their businesses to the next level, check out some of our best content on this topic by going to foundationsthatscale.com. You can find the link in our bio and do your part to improve as an ops expert.